Welcome back to Outdoors with Larry Ray on ESPN 790 AM. Brought to you proudly by the Tennessee Wildlife and Resources Agency.
Hey, welcome back to Outdoors with Larry Ray as we close out the show here today. Not forever, just today. In the fastest 90 minutes in outdoor radio program. We appreciate Chuck Yost talking CWD, chronic wasting disease. Yeah. And Dave, you know that we normally wouldn't talk deer hunting in June, but the way things operate around here, you better get ready for it early. You better get your food plots won't even be ready, but you can be.
Well, I've got some pretty good looking food plots.
You do?
Some of mine in early.
Well, let's talk to this next guy because we want to talk fishing because he, and particularly the Asian carp situation. He had some good news to report when I was watching the presentations. Now that we can watch online, and like I told you earlier, when they were voting for Bobby Wilson as the new executive director, it looked like Hollywood Squares. You know, all their pictures over there, and Bobby was like Charlie Weaver sitting up there and everything. Yeah, but let's talk something positive, and that's our good friend Frank Fiss. He is the TWRA Fisheries Chief. Good morning, Frank.
Good morning, Larry and others.
And others, those two other ones are there.
But, I hear Dave. I hear
Dave and Jim. Yeah, and this is and this is a time we can talk fishing because today is Free Fishing Day. So, Frank, talk about that, and also this doesn't just go for. There's a regulation here that maybe some young folks can even fish a little bit longer. So talk about what Free Fishing Day means in Tennessee.
Yeah, it's that one time of year when all licenses and permits are suspended for fishing, and anybody can go fishing on Free Fishing Day without those permits. And for the youth, 16 and younger, that extends on into Friday of the next week.
So you got an opportunity here to really maybe get some kids into fishing, and eventually, as Dave will talk about, it could become licensed. Can buy license down the road. So, but that doesn't mean today is open to everybody. I don't care if you're as old as I am.
Yeah, we really like to see people, take, that way there's no impediment to taking your kid fishing. You don't have to figure out how to get a license for the day. Of course, kids under 13 can fish without a license any day of the year. But we typically would have a lot of programs across the state where kids could come and have a little bit of an organized event, maybe win a prize or two. And
talk about that,
we
Frank.
We would have pre-stocked some water bodies for them.
Talk about that, Frank, because we do have a sad note to this because of COVID-19. Normally the trucks.
But it's not all sad, Larry. We got we typically have 80 of these events a year.
80.
And this year we had 80, and this year across the state, and we had, because of the understanding of COVID being a problem, some of these organizers didn't even register. So we had about 65 registered when everything kind of stopped getting registered. But anyway, so a lot of those events, understandably, have been canceled because we don't want to aggregate kids or anybody at this time. But the good news is that all these places that you may have if you've traditionally gone to these events and there's a pond or something in your area that was usually stocked with catfish, chances are we've still stocked it with catfish. All but just very few places were not stocked. Many of them were stocked earlier in the week. Our hatchery staff did a great job as always getting all these fish from the vendor out to these places. So
that's great.
You can still go fishing at these places. There just won't be maybe a tent set up and maybe some other extracurricular things going on. And I'm kind of hoping that maybe people will, the big crowd isn't for everybody. Maybe there'll be some people that will enjoy these waters with fish stocked in them for a little more time than they would have otherwise.
Well,
so
that's
I
a positive
people
thing.
To go out to places that they traditionally go to.
Well, that's a positive thing, and from a negative to do like that. And then also, Frank, I know that you got a little money, the Asian Carp Incentive Program. Talk about that because we know
we've done really well this year on our funding front. We've had several several opportunities come to fruition on the Fish and Wildlife Service front. We got an extra possibly about $1.5 million to work on various projects on Asian carp in the Tennessee Cumberland Valley, and we've got a little money to work in the lower Mississippi Basin for the first time.
All right.
We're going to start working on Reelfoot Lake some. But the news you're talking about was within the agency. We've refunded our Asian Carp Harvest Incentive Program to $600,000 to be able to incentivize people to remove Asian carp from the Tennessee and Cumberland rivers. And that program had been working pretty well. We needed to make sure we kept it funded. To date, in a little over a year and a half, they've removed about 4 million pounds out of the Tennessee side of the lake.
Yeah.
And they've done similar numbers in Kentucky.
And you've also,
and the other thing we were able to get was some funding for our any counties that want to support local processors to try to build that market
That's
up.
it, yeah.
There's plenty of fish out there. There's plenty of people that are willing to harvest fish. But if we don't have someplace to sell those fish, it's not sustainable. So that's what we're trying to work on, that marketing end now with that. So that was great that the commission was able to fund that project at $1 million total.
Yeah, I know. When you think about this now, I have had Asian carp. It's like anything else. Don't tell me what it is. I'll eat it. You know, my wife has tricked me into a squash sometimes. It's fried, but I'll eat it. But I won't eat it unless it's fried. So, Dave Gabbert, you've had Asian carp?
Yeah, I've had Asian carp, and it's really good. You know, I think that it's the problem being it's just something about, I guess, people
got to get a new name.
Carp.
Yeah, we got to get
carp. You know, if it was named something else. You know, I always said if you could get people on the Food Network, all these chefs cooking and stuff.
Yeah.
And come up with some catchy name, you know, that, you know, you couldn't, the supply and demand, you couldn't supply enough.
Well, maybe we can get Frank to come up with some name. He could have a contest amongst all of his fishing technicians, and or let Dance do it. He's a good name dropper and everything. But but I know Frank. It's an ongoing. Just like Chuck said, he inherited this chronic wasting disease. You've inherited the Asian carp situation. It's the marketing part is just what Dave was talking about itself, is getting those out there to understand that this could be made an industry. This could be made to something that can take the bad and make it good, because we don't want these things. And somebody may say, well, what?
Yeah, Larry, people are going to eat these fish eventually. It's just a matter of getting the right processing done, and that's what we're trying to work towards.
Yeah.
There's ample markets for processed fish, and nobody knows what's in most fish patties anyway. There's all variety of species in there.
Yeah,
but the good news on the carp front is that we haven't seen any increase, any reproduction in any new places that are giving us pause. So that's good. We're not really in control of that, but it's good news anyway.
It's good. Well, Frank, we appreciate you being with us, buddy, on short notice and everything. We'll stay in touch, man, and hope you have a good summer, and go catch some fish, okay?
Will do. Should be a good day for us.
All right, thanks, Frank. All right, say bye to Dave and
Goodbye.
Gene. All right.
Bye.
Bye. All right, Frank Fiss, and I wanted to get Frank in there to talk Asian carp, and you know, I've had it.
You know,
you bake it or fry it?
Well, I fry it.
You know.
Yeah, and I have not done it
grill
myself.
Too.
It's good on. Is it good on the grill? I mean, I haven't had. Yeah. Well, anything's good on the grill. Shelby said. Yeah.
It's just that you know, there's markets. You know, a lot of foreign markets, but taking that risk, to invest all that money into taking a container, a shipload over to a foreign country, just
right now
maybe having a bad day with the United States.
Oh yeah,
and they say, no, we're not going to accept that.
Well,
so what do you do?
I know one thing we'll accept is another pun from Gene. Gene, we're getting near the end of this show, and and the calls are lighting up that they want more of Gene Smith and less of Larry. So maybe some Dave. But let's have a pun time.
All right. This friend of mine's got this dog.
All right, friend's got a dog. All right.
He sent him to the butcher shop.
A butcher shop.
And the butcher was looking at the dog, and he said, he shoot him out of the shop. And the dog kept coming back, and he noticed he had a note under his collar.
Under the dog's
collar. And he looked
collar.
on it. Yeah, he looked at the note. He said he wanted a pound of sausage and a half pound of ground beef, and he knows he had some money there, so he paid for it.
Okay.
He put the meat and stuff in the bag. The dog trotted out the door, went down the street, and got up on a bus bench. And the butcher got curious. He said, "What in the world are you doing?" So every time the bus come by, the dog would jump down and look around to the front of it, see what number it was, and it wasn't his bus. He'd jump back on the bus bench. So finally his bus came. He got on the bus and stood up and give the guy the money. He had some, that still had $1 or $2 in his collar. So the butcher was following him in the back of the bus. He got to the intersection. He got off the bus, went down the street, went to the house, and he run and bumped into the door. Nobody come to the door, so the dog put the bag down by the door and went around, jumped up on the wall, and went around to the back of the house and kept knocking on the back window trying to get some attention. And he finally jumped back off the wall and went back to the front door and kept butting his head against the door. Finally, the owner come out, and the butcher said, "My gosh, that dog is a genius. He do all that stuff." He said, "Genius nothing. That's the second time he's forgot his key."
Dave, how do we follow that? Again, thank both of you guys for being with us today. So
usually with one of them little scoop things and a broom, following end of the parade.
Yeah.
All right. Any closing thoughts from either one of you two guys?
No, I've been playing in the woods as much as I could. I could Phil and Teresa and the grandbabies to the Shelby Forest Monday.
There you go.
We did a little hike on the asphalt trails, and
that's good.
Listen to the birds.
So get out and do some stuff, right, Dave?
Yeah, I was counting up, species of birds. Me and the wife was sitting there on the deck and just counting up the number of species of birds we've seen so far this spring. Around the feeders and just out. Yeah. We're up to about up to 32 different species.
Wow.
Well, folks, that's what you can do right now. Free fishing day today. And then if you're 15 and under, you can fish through next Friday. No license today for sure. A lot of catfish, as he said, in these lakes that we're going to have. I'd head out to Glen Springs.
They hit it just right. We're right in the middle of a full moon.
We're in the middle of a full moon. Yeah, the wolves are howling and everything else. But appreciate you two guys. I will talk to y'all in a month, and then we'll be back next week.
It'll seem like tomorrow.
I know it. Next week. Hey, next week, let me tell you real quickly, Adam Putnam, the DUCEO, is going to be with us to talk about Ducks Unlimited during these times. Also, Frank Macklin. He is known as the Scum Frog Boss, and he's going to be talking with us about the American Bait Works. Of course, Ron will have the American Crappie Trail Champs, and we're hoping to get Major League Fishing Bass Pro angler Jacob Wheeler. He just won a big tournament on Pickwick Lake. That's all next week on Outdoors with Larry Ray. Shelby McCall, thank you for taking care of me. Dave Gabbard, Gene Smith, y'all be safe and careful all during these times. And as we say, it doesn't cost an extra cent to be a good sport. And what else, guys?
God bless the USA.